Let's have a look at your lead story at 2 o'clock. Well, the court on Wednesday took a very bold decision at the behest of Reeva Steenkamp's family to lift the ban on display of pictures from the scene of Reeva's murder. The prosecution argued on behalf of Reeva's family that the pictures and videos of blood-soaked crime scene and that of Reeva's mutilated body be released. This in order for the world to know what those bullets did. Well, we at 897 fully back the view that it is impossible to understand the gravity or even brutality of the whole crime unless it is seen in its totality. Confronting the difficult truth, in our opinion, is necessary in order to understand it fully. However, driven by our responsibility as a national broadcaster, we don't want to expose those viewers who are not ready for it. Well, let's listen in to some of the arguments on the matter presented in court.
Now I have to deal with one specific aspect, and that is the aspect that I touched on in terms of the photographs. But this court made a finding that the photographs of the deceased and certain of the photographs should not be viewed. Mr. Roos indicated that it's time for him to do certain things. The witness at the state court said it's time for the world to see those photographs. So we apply, my lady, for the lifting of that order. And so that those photographs can, for once and for all, be viewed by everyone. And, my lady, we will not show as the photographs that Dr. Simon dealt with. Those are not the ones, my lady. But our application is, in particular, Exhibit E. And it's photograph numbers 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140. I have, my lady, in the break, had a consultation again with the parents. I have shown them the photographs, and they asked me to bring this application seriously, to bring a serious application for this order. The order that we seek, my lady, is that the court will allow those photographs to be made available publicly.
Earlier on Tuesday, Reeva's father, Barry Steenkamp, had begged for the pictures to be made public.
A lot of people will disagree with me and think that I'm callous or whatever it is. But what I would like the world to see are the wounds inflicted onto Reeva and the pain that she must have gone through, so that the world can see this and most probably distract people who are thinking of that type of deed to stop them in future. And this is why I ask if something like that could be shown to everybody.
He's trying to rebut the desensitization that happens where a victim of an offense is merely taken as a statistic and is not looked at as a human being. And I think the showing of the pictures is intended to bring it to the eyes of the public to say, this is what crime actually looks like. This is what a person who has been a victim of murder, this is what it would look like.
We are showing some pictures, but we are refraining from showing pictures of Reeva's mutilated body. The attempt from our side is to describe the gruesome nature of the incident and the everlasting scars it must have left on all the victims, specifically Reeva's family. We consider this to be a very important exercise to establish the life-destroying effect of a criminal act. As we have stated earlier, confronting the difficult truth is necessary in order to understand it in its entirety.
In April 2014, when the court was showed various images like these, the first picture is that of blood marks downstairs where Steenkamp lay dead. from 3 gunshot wounds. Moving over to our second picture, Pistorius says he used the bat to break down the door to get to his model girlfriend. After shooting her, he claims he mistaken her as an intruder. Moving on to our third picture that we're showing our viewers at home. This image shows the stairs after Pistorius fired the fatal shot, as you can see there. Moving on to our fourth picture, blood can be seen down the athlete's left arm and on his shorts, apparently from where he carried his dead girlfriend down the stairs. Moving over to our last and final picture. The last picture is of the bedroom where a duvet can be seen on the floor. Remember, this is an attempt from our side to describe the gruesome nature of the incident and the everlasting scars it must have left to all the victims, especially Reeva Steenkamp's family.
Well, this was a rather public case, and so we have been gauging the views from some of the viewers and the public. Joining us now via phone line, we have Millicent. A very good afternoon to you, Millicent. What would you like to add in having a look at the release of the graphic images of Reeva?
Hi, good day. Firstly, my sympathy to both families. I feel for them. I have followed the case from the beginning, but my view is I would want to remember Reeva as the most beautiful girl and not as to see her in that state. And I cannot understand. I have also lost.
We seem to have lost Millicent there, but of course she is rather sharing some of the same sentiments as many South Africans in wanting to remember the beauty of the pictures that we've actually seen of Reeva Steenkamp and not some of the horrific images. Joining us for more on the story is clinical psychologist Debbie Howes. Well, Debbie, how hard is this for a family to share the pictures, and what essentially do they want to be achieving with this?
It takes a lot of courage to actually broadcast your own child in such a state of that death. So for them to actually want to broadcast it, it must have a message that they're wanting for the world to actually sympathize and experience the reality of the shock and the trauma that they've experienced and that comes from them. Yeah. So it is a sharing and a need for that understanding and recognition from the world so that they can actually get that compassion and understanding. Yeah.
Now, the intention behind the release of the pictures is to somewhat sensitize common people on the repercussions and the trauma that the deceased family has gone through. Do you think that it will prevent others from committing crimes such as this?
It does certainly bring home the depth of the graphic nature of that, because as a culture we are really desensitized a lot to violence from the movies and TVs that we're exposed to. But when it's a reality of actual everyday life and the reality of it, it does hit home a lot more. Yeah.
Does this act possibly tilt the balance of sympathy towards the family as priority as opposed to that of Oscar and his predicament?
That would be an important focus, is because there's always two sides to both sides, and there are sympathies on both sides. But the priority does need to be sympathized with the family of the victims, because the perpetrator has committed an act, and it's important not to get distracted with the sympathies of the perpetrator as opposed to the depth of what's happening with the victim and the family as well.
Looking at the case in its entirety, how does the clinical psychologist within you respond to it?
Well, as a clinical psychologist, we know that if a perpetrator has perpetrated something, it needs a consequence. Otherwise, there is a tendency for it to repeat. If you take an example of any perpetrator, if there's, for example, a married couple and the husband has an affair, if there's no consequence, They will always have regret and they will always promise to make the changes. But without a consequence, the propensity that it will repeat is often there. So obviously this is a far more extreme circumstance and an extreme case, but I believe that consequences are necessary, and it does set a precedent so that it broadcasts that message that it's not acceptable. And no matter how much there are sympathies on both sides, consequences broadcast the message that if you do perpetrate something, it's not acceptable, and that the message needs to be that you can't. Otherwise, you don't want it to repeat.
Now, you mentioned a precedent, and in the case of the South African context, do you think a harsh sentence in this regard will set a precedent and instill the fear of law in the minds of perpetrators?
Yes, it will open their reality to the fact that it's not something that's taken lightly, and that you can either use manipulation or fear or sympathy to bypass that. And the message does need to go through that it is something that, the consequences exist.
Well, the court on Wednesday took a very bold decision at the behest of Reeva Steenkamp's family to lift the ban on the display of pictures from the scene of Reeva's murder. The prosecution argued on the behalf of Reeva's family that the pictures and the videos of the blood-soaked crime scene and that of Reeva's mutilated body be released. This in order for the world to know what those bullets had did. We at ANC fully back the view that it is impossible to understand the gravity and the brutality of the crime scene and the crime unless it is seen in its totality. Well, confronting the difficult truth, in our opinion, is necessary in order to understand it fully. However, driven by our responsibility as a national broadcaster, we don't want to expose those viewers who are not ready for it. Let's listen into some of the arguments on the matter presented in court.
Now I have to deal with one specific aspect, and that is the aspect that I touched on in terms of the photographs. This court made a finding that the photographs of the deceased and certain of the photographs should not be viewed. Mr. Roos indicated that it's time for him to do certain things. The witness at the state court said it's time for the world to see those photographs. So we apply, my lady, for the lifting of that order, and so that those photographs can, for once and for all, be viewed by everyone. And, my lady, we will not show as the photographs that Dr. Simon dealt with. Those are not the ones, my lady, but our application is in particular Exhibit E, and it's photograph numbers 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140. I have, my lady, in the break, I had a consultation again with the parents. I have shown them the photographs, and they asked me to bring this application serious, to bring a serious application for this order. The order that we seek, my lady, is that the court will allow those photographs to be made available publicly.
We have another caller who would like to add their view on the issue. I'm now joined by Eddie from Johannesburg. A very good afternoon to you, Eddie. What is your view on the release of the pictures?
As far as I'm concerned, is showing the pictures, it's not going to do anything. It's actually traumatizing Oscar and the people more. Why don't they just keep the pictures to themselves and let the cases carry on and get finished with it? I mean, the guy's been in prison, he's got released, he served his sentence, he showed remorse, and now they want to take it out and show the pictures to the public. For what reason? As far as I'm concerned, it's inhumane. Why don't they show other people's pictures that have been murdered? They don't do that. But because he is a public figure, a prominent figure, now they want to come and break the poor guy. No, come on, please.
Thank you very much. Eddie from Germiston, they're disagreeing with the pictures being displayed. I'm also joined by Miriam from Joburg, who'd also like to add in. A very good afternoon to you, Miriam. What would you like to add in tonight's or this evening afternoon's debate?
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm good. I think I agree the pictures need to be shown to the... Because sometimes people, they do crime and they don't know what happened after. I've been shot, I was hijacked, my parents were very traumatized. Seeing me in the hospital, seeing where the car was, it was very traumatizing even for my family. But if a family asks for the pictures to be shown to the whole world so they can see what the crime does to other human beings, because even I understand the part of Oscar that is disabled, but sometimes people of disabled, they do take advantage. They do take advantage of their situation. Also, he must pay for that crime. Thank you.
Thank you very much for adding in the views there. Miriam from Johannesburg disagreeing with our previous caller, saying that, of course, indeed, those graphic images should be shown to see the brutality of the case. I'm also joined by Vanessa from Port Elizabeth. Very good afternoon to you, Vanessa. Do you agree with our previous callers? What stance do you have on this?
Yes, the photograph should definitely be shown so that the world can see, and not only that, that the man can live with it for the rest of his life. It's so easy to take a life in this world, and people must pay for it. As far as I'm concerned, we haven't crushed Oscar Pistorius at all. He crushed himself. He may be a broken man, but he's still living. He may be no legs and that. I don't feel sorry for him at all. He took that gun and he shot Reeva. He must stand up or kneel down and be a man. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Vanessa from PE, a caller phone again, saying that indeed the pictures should be shown, agreeing there that the world needs to see what he's done. And of course, the real victim in this case is Reeva and not Oscar Pistorius. I'm also joined by Cornelius, who'd like to add into this afternoon's discussion on whether the pictures should be released or not, and are they insensitive. Cornelius, what would you like to add?
Day, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well. As far as the pictures are concerned, I'm sure this is the right time that we have to also see the other side of what the parents of Reeva are feeling about this, you know. Because according to the attorneys for Oscar, they only wanted to actually show us as to how Oscar feels and how pity we must feel for Oscar. But now, the fact that we are seeing the pictures also, it also settles a score on the side of the parents as the victims as well. So I'm quite sure it will act as a proper deterrent onto the fact that, you know, regardless to how you feel or how you look or how vulnerable you might look, as the lawyers are putting it, it will still be, you know, murder is still murder at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Cornelius, just before you go, do you feel that by putting the pictures out there, it is going to strengthen the state's case, in your view?
Yeah, definitely, because, you know, as I looked at it, I realized that Leroux and his team, they actually decided that they need to show how pitiful Victoria looks on his stamps, you know. But those pictures, I'm sure, they will also show the other side of the victim, you know, and also the victim's parents, that it will also give them a little bit of peace, and it will also show the people how lively and vibrant Reeva was, and how those bullets and, you know, all that pain, it should also be able to settle this as well.
Thank you very much for giving us your views there. Cornelius, a caller from Johannesburg, also giving his view and agreeing that the release of those graphic images is going to be adding weight to the state's case. And also joined now by Sydney from Limpopo. Very good afternoon to you, Sydney. Thank you very much for wanting to contribute to the discussion. What would you like to add?
Thank you very much. My name is Sydney. I'm calling from Limpopo, Velavela, Limpopo. I just want to indicate that I don't think it is right to put through the photographs to the public, because it is actually bringing the dead wound it is actually creating media and the public to start judging the case itself now. It's going to change the whole story, and it's not going to add any value to the community. I mean, to see a person murdered, to remind people of what actually crucial cases that happened that time is not right. So I think what needs to happen is to all of us drive towards the closure of this case. If the judge can judge the case quickly as possible, we close the chapter completely, because this is going to create a problem that we start judging the case as a public now. Like me sitting here looking at the media, at the photographs, I may come with my own understanding, which is not a legal understanding, if I want to put it that way. So in my own view, I think that we must just learn to close the chapter. This needs to be closed, and we don't want to see it again. It is encouraging, even though the other people, to continue doing the same murder as it happened with Oscar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sydney bringing some very valid points there. We do know that the defence, there, Barry Roo, also bringing that into question, saying that the public view and the public judgment has added crucially during this case. They're also adding initially, that was one of the reasons why they wanted to ban the images, these graphic images, from actually airing. I'm also joined by Ben from the Free State, who'd also like to add in some of his views. A very good afternoon to you, Ben. What would you like to add? Do you disagree or agree with our previous caller?
I agree. 100% so. I'm of the view that you see the defense, they showed the accused or the suspect in court working with his thumbs. You understand? So I think in order to sympathize with the family, they must only let the family also show the pictures of Reeva, because it will help. You know, you've got so different relationships, whereby some are abusive relationships. Someone go and explain to the family, to brothers and sisters, look, my boyfriend or my girlfriend is abusing me. So it's better sometimes, like, the family didn't know about this relationship. You know, we don't know what happened. And coming on the legal view, I think they miss the point whereby, if I take my firearm and I suspect that there is someone else on the bathroom or maybe in the toilet, I must make sure that my partner knows my motives. I must make sure that my partner knows my motives. Look, we might be having an intruder. But since I was watching this case, it was never argued, or it never came to that point whereby he was asked, all right, before you arm yourself and went there, where was your partner? So that's my view. I think the family must also be led peace. That's my view.
Thank you very much. Ben from the Free State also giving his views there. I'm joined also from David, also coming to us from the Free State in Bloemfontein. Very good afternoon to you, David. Do you disagree or agree with our previous caller in that the images, those graphic images, should have been made public?
Hello, good afternoon. I'm also of the opinion that people should take responsibility for their actions. I mean, the parents of Reeva lost their daughter, and Pistorius caused her death. I'm of the opinion that it's unfair that other people are now criticizing the showing of the pictures of a mutilated body of Reeva Steenkamp. The fact of the matter is, she's no more, and Pistorius is still here. For me, the people who are actually putting pressure on Pistorius are the people who are delaying him going or being convicted of murder and going to serving sentence. Those are the people who are actually should be criticized. But for me, no, there's nothing wrong showing the pictures of the mutilated body of Reeva Steenkamp to whoever, including Pistorius.
David from Bloemfontein saying that all is well in releasing those pictures and actually seeing what happened to Reeva. Once again, I'm joined by Malo from Soweto here in Gauteng. Very good afternoon to you. What would you like to add? Of course, the previous caller saying that it's absolutely okay to show the images. Malo, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, what would you like to add? Do you think it was okay for the family to authorize the release of the pictures to the public?
No, ma'am. You know what? I think to only what happening to Pistorius, we got also the same problem. But my cousin was worse because his husband in a masquerade, he was a policeman. And then he shoot him. After he shoot him, he take him to the Zozo and put the light on him. There was the body, the whole body, even anyone can show that body. It was only the bones, but no one did show the thing on the TV. But because our Pistorius has got the money, it's only the one who's been shown in the TV. And that guy who's banned my cousin is still not arrested. He was being paid for only 2,000 rand. At this moment, he's still working through. And this case is still postponing for 2 years now.
All right, so thank you, Maloy from Soweto. Sorry to hear about your cousin. Condolences to you and your family too. Well, that is where we're going to wrap things up on News Point this afternoon, as we just spoke to a couple of callers from all over South Africa calling and giving their views on whether it was insensitive or inhumane in the release of Reeva Steenkamp's mutilated body. Of course, the images, we've chosen those graphic images to not show them here on ANN7. Of course, you can have a look at them at your own will. Just hearing some mixed reviews from South Africans, some saying yes, they agree the world needs to see what happened to Reeva, others also disagreeing, saying let's remember her as the peaceful, beautiful person that we've seen in some of those images. Well, it is a wrap-up from myself, Shante Yankees, at least for now. Of course, do stay tuned. SA Decides comes up next.